Everyone was able to. Okay, now we're recording. I hope everybody was able to join us on this cold, snowy day. Welcome. I am Roxanne Farnsworth. I am the HUD Grants Administrator at the City and County of Denver. I want to welcome you all to the City and County of Denver's annual HUD community meeting. We will begin momentarily, but before we get started, a few details. If you are having technical issues, please type your question in the Q&A box and someone will try to assist you. This feature is available on the side of your screen. I am going to now allow Dwayne Stillwell an opportunity to provide some information regarding our Spanish translation services.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's meeting. This is a bilingual meeting. Interpretation is being provided from English into Spanish and from Spanish into English. At the end of this announcement, you'll be able to click on the interpretation icon. All participants, English and Spanish speakers, should click on the interpretation icon, a globe at the bottom of your screen, and pick the language of your choice. If you do not pick a language, you will not be able to listen to the interpreter. Thank you. Hola a todos, bienvenidos a la reunión de hoy. Esta es una reunión bilingüe. Habrá traducción al inglés, del inglés al español y del español al inglés. Al concluir este mensaje podrán hacer clic en el icono de interpretación, el globito. Todos los participantes, ya hablen inglés o español, deben hacer clic en el icono de interpretación que se encuentra en la parte inferior de la pantalla y elegir el idioma de su elección. Si no elige usted un idioma, no podrá escuchar al intérprete. Gracias.
Okay, I am starting the interpretation channel now.
Excellent. Thank you, Dwayne. Let's get started. Hello and welcome. I'm Dan Fector, Acting Director of Administration Federal Compliance at the City and County of Denver. Our agenda today will cover four main topics as it relates to City and County of Denver's use of funds from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD. We'll begin by first reviewing our HUD-funded programs and the HUD annual planning process. And Katie, if you could go to the next slide for me. Perfect. Second, we will look at Denver's highlights from HUD projects in 2021. Then we will discuss our annual community pulse survey, which is one of our community engagement tools we are using as part of our planning process to obtain input from the community. And finally, we will share some available resources and have an opportunity for questions and answers. So, next slide. So to begin, we will cover HUD programs and the planning process. Next slide. So next slide, there we go. The U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD, as previously stated, provides state and local governments with several grant funds on an annual basis. Denver receives four main HUD grants as part of our annual allocation: a Community Development Block Grant, or CDBG, a Home Investment Partnerships Program, or HOME, Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS, known as HOPWA, and the Emergency Solutions Grant, or ESG. Together, these grants help Denver to fund a variety of services and projects focusing on housing, economic development, and neighborhood activities. Next slide, please. So as part of the requirement to receive these annual funds, Denver must complete several studies and plans and submit them to HUD. First, a 5-year strategic plan called the Consolidated Plan, or CON plan for short, must be developed. As part of that plan, Denver evaluates housing and community development needs and then creates goals and priorities for the 5-year period to address those needs. Then, for each period under the CON plan, Denver must also create an annual action plan to identify specific priorities and projects for that year. An annual report called the Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report, or CAPER, is also published for each program year. Denver uses a January through December program year for HUD So an annual action plan and annual caper are both published for each calendar year of our HUD funding. Many public engagement tools and studies are also utilized to create and inform the 5-year con plan and annual action plans. In particular, Denver must conduct a fair housing study called an analysis of impediments to fair housing choice once every 5 years. This study reviews disparities in access to housing and economic opportunities for protected classes like race, religion, and disability. Denver completed its last analysis of impediments in 2019, and that information guides our current 2019 through 2023 con plan and our current action plans. So you may access these HUD documents at any time by visiting our website listed here in the lower left corner. Next slide. So as mentioned, Denver uses a January through December program year for HUD. On this slide, you see a visual representation of our tentative timeline for the 2022 HUD program year. It starts here in February with this meeting, where we share accomplishments from the previous year and look to you all for feedback on our upcoming year. Other important dates to note are primarily in March, where we release the caper, our annual report, as well as our 2022 action plan for public comment. Please note, we will also be doing another public meeting after the release of our draft 2022 action plan to gather community feedback on the draft before we submit it to HUD for approval. This meeting will likely occur sometime between March and June based on when Denver receives its notice of funding from HUD. We will issue a public notice at least 2 weeks before that meeting is held. Next slide. Excellent. So Denver's 2019 to 2023 comp plan identified 7 strategic goals, which are listed on this slide. The strategic goals identified on this slide represent a variety of priorities, including housing services, business and workforce development, neighborhood services, and various other development and special need activities. These strategic goals also guide the creation of each annual action plan. And more information on these goals can be found on our consolidated plan, which is available online. Next slide.
As we mentioned, as we have mentioned as part of this meeting, we are sharing various highlights from HUD funded activities in 2021 in several program areas. We hope that these highlights will give you an idea of how HUD funds are working in our community. Specifically, we will be sharing highlights in the following program areas: neighborhood services, neighborhood development, housing services, business and economic development. Next slide.
Thanks. So this slide shows some key data points from our investments into neighborhood support activities in 2021. These activities were funded by the CDBG program and include 2 primary program areas: employment training services and small business technical assistance. Included in this data are details on leverage dollars, numbers of businesses and individuals served, and individuals served by average median income bracket. I particularly want to highlight the bottom right graphic, which shows that over half of the individuals served in our program were under the 30% of Denver's area median income, which equals $31,450 annually for a family of 4. Also, please note that these figures, as well as the data on the next several slides, are not yet final for 2021. We are still pulling in final numbers from some of our programs. However, they do represent a majority of the programs we funded. Our 2021 caper will include the final data when it's published. Next slide.
Roxanne, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. For neighborhood development, CDBG funds can support projects such as neighborhood and public facilities, community centers, and infrastructure. Mile High Ministries Joshua Station is an example of a public facility supported in 2021. Mile High Ministries Joshua Station is a faith-based community helping families make the transition from homelessness to a healthy, stable living environment. In 2021, we invested $75,941 in CDBG funds to finance Mile High Ministries' purchase and installation of a security system for Joshua Station. The previous security system was no longer operable, and Joshua Station residents and staff were without the protection and security they needed to live and work. Next slide. An additional neighborhood development project supported in 2021 was with $750,000 in CDBG funds to the Housing Authority of the City and County of Denver, also known as DHA, for the construction of Decatur Fresh, which is a food market which will provide the benefits of a quick, accessible grocer and basic goods store, but also focus on workforce training and development. Through DHA's Workforce Development and Community Initiatives Department within the Sun Valley neighborhood, Decatur Fresh will partner with DHA's Section 3 Department, DHA's Resident Services Department, and the Youth Employment Academy to offer robust workforce development and training opportunities, as well as create employment opportunities within the grow market. Next slide. An additional special projects receiving CDBG funding. Nonprofit organization, the Center for African American Health, was awarded $480,000 of CDBG funds to assist with the acquisition of a building that will serve to improve the health of the African American community. Nonprofit organization Cleo Parker Robinson Dance was also awarded $480,000 of CDBG funds for the purchase of the site, their site/building. Next slide. In 2021, HUD investments in over 20 housing programs totaled over $5.4 million, with over 15,000 households and individuals served. On the development side, over $2.2 million in home funds were invested with the goal of creating 180 housing units. Next slide. Through the Department of Housing Stability, two housing program service highlights our emergency home repair program and the tenant landlord counseling. The EHR program is led by Denver Urban Renewal Authority, to whom the city provides CDBG funds to address housing repairs that are necessary for low-income Denver homeowners to remain safely in their homes. In 2021, EHR served 44 individual households repairs, varying anywhere from roof repair, electrical updates, and the cost anywhere between $1,000 and $10,000. Tenant landlord counseling program led by Brothers Redevelopment LLC provides counseling and assists in the resolution of disputes between tenants and landlords. In 2021, these funds helped to assist 3,600 unduplicated households. Next slide.
Excellent. So several HUD-funded housing development projects were also completed in 2021. One example is the development of the Clara Brown's Commons by Mile High Ministries in the Cole neighborhood. Through Host, Denver provided $1,825,000 in home funds to subsidize the development and construction of 61 affordable rental units with 1, 2, and 3 bedroom options. Clara Brown's Commons will be a mixed income community where the units are reserved for households whose incomes are at or below 30, 50, 60, or 80% the area median income, or AMI. For the Denver area, as determined by HUD, approximately 1/3 of the units will be available to the tenants who are at or below 30% of AMI, and will include a dynamic array of supportive services to address the needs of those in the community. Next slide. Another example of a housing development project is the Wild Horse Ridge Apartments. Through HOST, Denver is investing $450,000 in home funds with involved communities to support the development of the Wild Horse Ridge Apartments for use as affordable housing. The Wild Horse Ridge Apartments will be 119 units of affordable housing just 1 mile from the Pena station in North Denver. The 2 and 3 bedroom apartments, each with a garage, will accommodate tenants with incomes below 30% and 70% of Denver's AMI. The apartments are a 1/4 mile from a new grocery store, and amenities will include a community room, on-site management office, pocket park with a park shelter, picnic area, barbecue grills, and an informal play and boulder climbing area. Slide. So finally, it's important to acknowledge several changes and additions made in 2021 to Denver's HUD programs in response to COVID-19. In 2021, Denver received additional funding from HUD to assist the community through the pandemic crisis. Some of these funds provide additional business support to small businesses impacted by COVID-19. Approximately $997,000 in CDBG CV funds, which are specific dollars provided by HUD to prevent, prepare for, and respond to the spread of COVID-19, was invested to provide technical assistance to 1,790 people affected by COVID-19. Additionally, the city provided a loan deferral program to small businesses that have open business development loans with Denver, aiding 16 businesses this year. For housing support, a total of $15 million in CDBG CV and ESG CV funds have been earmarked for homelessness support, including shelter operations, and all of Denver's allocated HOPWA CV funds were provided to nonprofit partners to provide COVID-19 support for HOPWA eligible individuals and households. Specifically, HOPWA CV provided hotel vouchers to 30 households who need to isolate due to COVID-19 and provided 107 households with short-term rent, mortgage, and/or utility assistance. So during this time, the city staff has also worked with partners as they quickly pivoted their service and restructured their programs to continue to provide services to our community. We greatly appreciate all of our partners' efforts during 2021 and currently as they strive to provide the best services and products possible during these challenging times. And finally, please note that these programs and activities listed on this slide are only for HUD-funded programs and are not inclusive of other substantial city investments made to support COVID-19 relief, such as small business and nonprofit emergency relief funds and the PPE program for businesses and nonprofits, which we carried out using other federal and local funds. Next slide.
And we're going to go next slide. As stated earlier in the presentation, extensive surveys and stakeholder interviews are conducted to inform the 5-year CON plan. Our annual pulse survey opened on Wednesday, January 5th, which is a smaller, quick version for the community to provide current feedback year to year within the 5-year period. Each annual survey will help inform the current year's annual action plan. Their survey asks for the community's input from different perspectives: residents, community partners, small business, etc. If you have not had the chance to complete the survey, please do so after the meeting. It will remain open until February 16th. We will be updating the HUD Teams page once the survey closes with details about the survey results, so make sure you take the time to complete the survey and check back with us after February 16th to see the results. Next slide.
Perfect. So next, we'll just discuss a couple available and upcoming resources. Next slide. Perfect. So each year, Denver offers different types of funding opportunities to community partners. Some are available on a rolling basis year-round, while others are limited in availability. This list shows the year-round opportunities available. If you are a community partner interested in one of these programs areas, Please access the appropriate link to find out more information and to contact appropriate Denver staff. Fine. So, as mentioned, Denver also offers limited funding opportunities as needed. Two common examples are the Housing Notice of Funding Availability, or NOFA, and the Neighborhoods NOFA. Currently, the Housing NOFA happens on a 3-year cycle, and the Neighborhoods NOFA happens on a 1 to 2 year cycle. However, cycles may be extended or shortened depending on community need. Additionally, other requests for proposals, or RFP, or requests for qualifications, RFQs, may be published as needed throughout the year as well. If you're interested in receiving updates about these funding opportunities when offered by the city, please submit your name, organization, and email address to our marketing team at ditomarketing@denvergov.org to ensure you're on our distribution list. And finally, sorry, we understand that the HUD programs can be complicated and the requirements to receive funding are rigorous. While we always have to ensure compliance with federal regulations while making funding decisions, please note DITO and host team members are always available to help answer your questions and provide technical assistance during your application process or during the administration of the program or project. Next slide.
So this slide is of community resources for individuals and families looking for additional resources from the city and its partners. Please review this list to access information under each program and area. Next slide. Now we will take some time to answer questions that we have been receiving through our Q&A feature. Again, if you would like to submit a question, please type it into the Q&A feature on the right-hand side of your screen. If you are using a mobile device, the Q&A icon appears on the top right-hand of your screen. It looks like a chat bubble with a question mark in it. We will leave you with a few reminders. There always exists a greater need than there are dollars available. Many of HUD's funding sources come with restrictions on the types of activities we can fund and for how much. If you haven't already, please complete the annual community pulse survey. Links are below. If you haven't, and finally, please make sure to keep in touch with us throughout the year, specifically when we release the CAPER and the annual action plan in the coming months so that you are able to share your feedback or join us at our next public meeting where we will go over the details of our 2022 annual action plan. If you have any questions or comments about this presentation or any additional feedback about HUD funds, please let us know by using the information listed on this slide. You can reach us by phone, email, and if needed, you can request our address and write us via US mail. Thank you for your interest in Denver HUD's programs and for your attention during this presentation. We look forward to hearing from you and working together to best serve Denver's residents, businesses, and neighborhoods. We are now going to enable you to raise your hands for our question and answer session. Thank you.
Roxanne and Dan, there's a couple questions in the Q&A that you guys could answer live if you are able to.
So I see, I'll address this first one I see. The question posed was, does Decatur take SNAP? I will turn that over to Sylvia to address Decatur.
Hi, Sylvia Smith with the the Assistant Director here with Neighborhood Equity and Stabilization. I'm sorry, I don't see the question, or what is the question?
Sorry, the question was, does Decatur take SNAP?
Oh, that I am not sure, but it's definitely something we can find out. I don't know about that. We helped assistance. We obviously just helped with the assistance of the with the rehab of the entity. So we could find that out for them for sure.
Sylvia, I could go ahead and answer that question for you. Good
Okay.
morning, everyone. Elvis Rubio, Deputy Director of Neighborhood Equity Stabilization. The Decatur Fresh Market does accept SNAP and Double Up Bucks program as well.
Great. Thanks, Elvis.
You're welcome.
Okay, so going through again, had one question. We could share the resource page again on the deck. So we have that up on the screen. That ties in with some of our other questions of where can we find the slides of this meeting, or can we get a copy of this presentation? This will be shared with everyone, and the links are all active on here as well. So you'll be able to click on those as well. Do we have Dito Marcoms who can address when these will be posted? Okay, we will work on addressing that for you. Another question just came in. When will the construction of Clara Brown's Commons start? For that one, I believe that will be Doug that we can, is that correct? Melissa Thady, are you on? Could you address that one?
This is Jennifer Balcom. I'm the development director, and I'm on. I can address that. We're still working on getting that loan closed. So we've been working through the HUD environmental review process. And so my hope is that we'll have that loan closed within the next few months, and then it'll then be able to start construction.
Excellent. Thank you, Jen. And to address the other questions, so where can we find the slides? The slide decks in English and Spanish will be posted online by close of business today.
I also see a question about Clara Brown Commons regarding supportive services. Would you like me to address that?
That would be great. I did not see that one on there.
Okay. The supportive services that we fund are defined in federal regulation. There's a list of what kinds of supportive services are eligible. The section of the federal regulation is 24 CFR section 578.53, which includes a list such as annual assessments of service needs, education services, case management, employment assistance and job training, mental health services, outreach services, transportation, food, utility deposits, et cetera. There's a long list of what those services can include. And so when we provide funding to a property, we're providing funding for anything the property needs that's on this list. So as far as specifically what kinds of supportive services that would be included at Clara Brown, I don't know that we have the specific list of what they intend to use these services for. We just fund what's eligible. And it's a good question about whether anyone is in contact with the adult education programs. If you want to get in touch with me about that, I'm happy to have further conversation.
Can someone from Dito address this first question about if we're able to break out the number of individuals served demographically or by zip code or neighborhood?
Yes. Jonathan, would you be able to address that one? I can
Here you
text
go.
that.
I can.
There. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Sorry, I was muted. I was trying to figure that out. Yeah, we actually do not have those individuals by zip code or location. What we do have is the businesses though by zip code. So hopefully that answers the question. Was there other parts of the question that I missed?
No.
I think there was also a question about demographics. So maybe raise that the income.
Yeah, definitely. So HUD does require that we understand race, ethnicity, as well as income level, as Dan showed earlier in the slide deck. So we do have those breakdowns as well. So the hope is, as we kind of finalize our data collection from our various partners, that we could put something out more comprehensively like that.
And Jonathan, there's also a question, a similar question, wondering if we have demographics for specifically businesses that have received assistance.
I'm trying to remember the data form right now. I do not believe so. I believe all we have about the business is their geographic location.
Thank you. Looks like we also have a question. How does an organization make themselves available and identified as a resource provider on the HUD webpage? Does anybody have an answer for that one?
So I can tackle that one. So this is not an all-inclusive list of providers that we have. These is just some of our partners from this last year that we've kind of identified some best practices with, who we've been working with. So this is just something that's kind of up for discussion. If that's something that you'd like to be involved with, you can always reach out to us on the Denver and HUD page. We have a direct link to us, as well as you'll see on the final slide as well. We have our contact information on there as well. Always willing to update this list if we've got another provider that we see as a great resource.
Thanks, Dan. I also see a question here wanting to know how many Latino businesses have received assistance. And I'm guessing that might be something we need to follow up on.
Yeah, Jonathan might be able to speak to that.
Yeah, again, because we're not collecting ownership details around businesses, that kind of information is difficult to track, at least. Well, we can't really provide information on that as of now, but I think we would be open to modifying how we collect data in the future. So we could maybe do that as a future step, but right now we don't have that information.
Thank you. And then one last, I see a question that Adam from Host is answering in the Q&A. And then another one wanting to know what is the population that will be served at Clara Brown Commons?
So Adam or Jen, would you guys be able to address those two questions?
Hi there. It'd be helpful if we had Nick on here, who underwrote that deal. I'm sorry, I wasn't prepared with all the specifics of Clara Brown for this meeting, but let me get in touch with Nick and I'll be right back with everyone.
Katie, it might help to go back to the slide that outlined.
And hi, this is Adam Lyons with Host. I answered the question in the Q&A function in the Zoom meeting regarding Wild Horse Ridge. The project is going to be closing on its construction financing this month, and the project is anticipated to be completed in late 2023, so by around December 2023. I'm not exactly sure when they will begin taking applications from tenants, but it'll likely be around that late 2023 timeframe.
Awesome. Thank you, Adam. At this point, I don't see anything else in the chat.
Let's give Jennifer Balcom just a second to come back with that question about the population for Clara Brown.
Clara Brown is going to be serving families. And as we have listed here on the slide, we have the maximum AMI shown here on the slide. And so that's who it'll be serving. Hopefully that answers the question.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Sure.
Oh, I see we have a hand raised. Alex, it looks like. You should be able to unmute yourself and ask your question.
Sorry, I accidentally pressed that.
Oh, okay, no worries. If any of our other public attendees have a question, you are free to unmute yourself and ask it.
Yeah, I'll just say that while everyone's thinking of your excellent questions, we will be here until 11 o'clock as well. So take your time, and happy to answer any questions that you guys might have.
Well, I have a question regarding the COVID-19 response. Are there going to be any more funds available to small businesses to help them continue to navigate through the system?
There will still be some that come through. It really depends on from the top down, but as we kind of mentioned, we do still have a couple of active RFPs out there for business and nonprofit support. I don't know if we have someone from the NEST team who might be able to speak to that at all.
Well, this is Sylvia again. I definitely don't know what other, hi, Darcy, it's Sylvia.
I recognized your voice.
Oh, I recognize your voice. So happy New Year, Darcy. Yeah, you know, we have some, and Seneca, if he's on the phone, he'll kill me because I can never remember this this acronym for ARPA. I mean, we do have some other dollars that will be coming down that we've definitely been notified of. But as far as those COVID, what we call the Community Development Block Grant CV dollars, that I'm not sure, you know, what more is coming down in that arena. But we do have additional dollars, and that's why it's important that folks here on this call definitely get signed up for notifications on our DITO website so that you can see and get notifications of when opportunities become available. And so I think either we can dump that in the chat, or if it's not already on this slide anywhere, but staying abreast of DITO opportunities, because we do have a funding resource page that talks about current and or, well, we don't necessarily put future opportunity on there, but only things that are current. So Darcy, if you're not on that list already, you should be. But as far as specific CDBG CV, I'm unaware.
So this is Seneca. Hello, everybody. I'm the director of NEST. We do have some ARPA funds available, $2.6 million, $600,000 available for business support, and another $2 million available for neighborhood activation. I do not anticipate these are going to be kind of like the direct grants that we were giving to small businesses and nonprofits, at least on the NEST side. I think there are more funding opportunities available from our business development division. But yes, as Sylvia stated, please stay tuned. You will see some more opportunities coming through. I'm anticipating probably the end of the first quarter, beginning of the second quarter.
Perfect, thank you.
One thing that I would just add on to that, as we were talking about the ARPA funds, so that's the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 funds. those don't specifically go through HUD. Those are actually treasury funds. So minor difference, but just wanted to make that distinguishment.
I think I missed it earlier. My apologies. My name is Monique. Where are the Claire Brown condoms going to be located?
They will be in the Cole neighborhood. I don't know if, Adam, do you have any other specifics you could provide on that?
Yeah, the address for Claire Brown Commons is 3700 North Gaylord Street.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning. This is Marcella. I have a quick question. Is any of these new developments focused on older adults?
Adam, I think I'll send that one back to you again.
Yeah, neither of the two developments listed in this presentation are age restricted. I mean, they are income restricted, but not specifically age restricted. We do, have other projects in our pipelines that are age restricted, but those are just, kind of too early at this point to, not just announce those, but to have all the information for.
Thanks, Adam. All right, so just a reminder for everyone, we will be here until 11 o'clock as well. So any other questions, none too small, feel free to ask. We're here to answer anything we can for you.
Hey, it's Jen Morris from Dido. I just wanted to point out, so there was a question about small business support coming down the pipe. And we have $5 million from the American Rescue Plan Act that we will be putting back into small businesses in the form of grants. And so we're working on getting that program developed right now. We recently closed our RFP to find a nonprofit or community partner to help us implement the program. And so as soon as that is finalized, we'll be launching it hopefully in the next 2 to 3 months.
Thanks, Jen.
I also had another question about the 2 construction apartment projects. I think one was Horseshoe over at the Pena Station, and then the Claire Brown Commons. Will those projects have a component of minority women, participation levels on there, small business participation level, or do they fall into the same funding arena that requires that?
Adam, can you
I can
address
take
that?
that. Yeah, just being home funded or funded with the Home Investment Partnership dollars, there are requirements for what's called Section 3, which makes economic opportunities available for low to moderate income workers or low to moderate income businesses. So we do track that with both projects as well as the women and minority business enterprises. So, there's no hard and fast rule that they must hire, but we do track their compliance with both Section 3 workers, which are the low to moderate income workers, and the minority and women business enterprises.
Thanks, Adam.
I have a question. Is there going to be a community involvement as far as the programs that's going to be in these housing developments? Like, is there a board, or is there, as far as what the community wants within their, what kind of programs and services the community wants in their home? In their communities? Is there going to be a lot of community input, or is it just determined on a government level?
Host, I'll have you guys take that one again onto the projects.
I'm sorry, that question was around the new construction developments. Is that correct?
Yeah, just I guess it's just a situation of just having people that are in that community being at the table instead of other people determining what is needed in that community, I guess is what I'm saying. Like, what involvement of the people that are going to be living there, do they have any involvement in the say-so of the services that are going to be offered?
We at Host typically do not, dictate or, really just mandate what services the development will offer. That typically comes to us by our development partners and kind of what they have planned for the site. For Wild Horse Ridge Apartments, that's the one near the Pena Station. There's really no on-site services being provided there, but they do have, on-site property management team to help assist tenants in a variety of ways. And for Clara Brown Commons, they will have some limited services on site, but again, those are mainly dictated by our development partner and the nonprofits who will own and operate these buildings. They kind of design their tenant services around the needs of their tenants, but we're typically not involved with what those services exactly look like.
Okay, thank you.
So we've got about 10 minutes left reserved for questions. Anything else we can address?
Hi, this is Carol Peoples with Remerge, a nonprofit based in Denver. And we help people who are coming out of jail and prison. And I wanted to know if there's a connection I could make in HUD who could help me understand any of the barriers around criminal records and accessing any of this housing.
This is Jennifer Balcom. I'm thinking about the answer to your question. It's a good question. We certainly hope to support folks who are coming out of incarceration. They're in traditional housing. They are able to, through their tenant selection plan, to choose, and through their leases, they're able to choose whether or not to evaluate criminal histories of folks who live there. For supportive housing for folks who are coming out of homelessness, I'm wondering if Melissa Thadi is on. I might know off the top of your head whether or not our One Home system would allow for folks who have been previously incarcerated. I think so. I'm not absolutely sure the answer to that.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Melissa Toddy, the Housing Stability Director with the Department of Housing Stability. A couple of things came to mind. So one is just recently a new state legislative bill was introduced, Senate Bill 22-099, which specifically is looking to address sealing criminal records in order to increase access to housing options. So would encourage you to stay up to date on that process and even potentially go ahead and speak to the state legislature in support of that bill if that is something you're interested in. The other thing is I know our homelessness resolution team recently created a document that very specifically looks into this and what landlords should and shouldn't do in terms of access for people coming out of the criminal justice system. If you want to put your email address in the chat, I will circle back and maybe send along that document as well.
Hey, thank you very much, Melissa. I know about the record sealing bill, and I would love the connection to what you guys, to anybody in your team who can help me just providing information, accurate information for folks on how to navigate this, but also anything that you guys are doing that's proactive as far as public education around folks with criminal records. So yeah, I'll put my name and contact information. Thank you so much, Jennifer and Melissa.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.
And then it was kind of touched on as well. I just want to add on to that as well. As far as helping people coming out of incarceration, I would also recommend looking at DIDO, as we have a lot of workforce programs that can also assist with that as well.
Dan, this is Sylvia as well here in Neighborhood Equity. I think, I'm sorry, I don't remember the person's name that just asked the question, but also feel free to also get in contact with me as well. To Dan's point with the workforce development programs through DIDO, it's very possible that you know, the NOFA might be an opportunity, the notice of funding availability that we do annually or every year or two, where community development block grant funds may be available for program services for something that you may want to propose. So glad to speak with you about the NOFA as well. Future opportunities there. I don't know if she was still on the line.
Sorry, I am. I'm
so.
listening. I was typing things up and putting it in the chat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Sylvia, please, if you don't mind putting your email into the chat, I'll reach out to you.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I kind of got caught up in the chat too.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Got time for probably one or two more questions if there's anything we can address for you.
Hey, Dan and everybody. This is Frances Williams, the Senior Director of Pathways at Casa Resource Center. And I just wanted to kind of share a little bit information with everybody about like the number of participants that we served in 2021, which was about 1,100. And many of those are Spanish speakers. So our core market is really serving female entrepreneurs as being the only women's business center in the state of Colorado for the Small Business Administration and our Latinx community. And I'm wondering too, like in terms of like our immigrant population, like, do you have any data in terms of, you know, housing needs for that population? And if the city has those types of supports?
This is Jonathan Center. Well, I'm on the DIDO side of the house. I would definitely defer to hosts if they're tracking any kind of housing needs specifically to immigrants. But I would say that our best data source is the one that I think everyone here would have access to, which would be census. I don't think we're collecting anything in addition, unfortunately.
Okay.
And this is Jennifer Balcom from Housing Stability. I'm not aware of anything any housing that's being developed specifically for immigrant populations. In our strategic plan, we do have a lot of data related to race predicting housing outcomes and wanting to move the needle on that, but not specifically targeting immigrant populations. I don't know whether or not, Melissa, if you're aware of any other programs that we have related to immigrant populations.
So I would just say specifically, we have a close coordination with the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs. So
We meet with them at least once a month in terms of what programs are available, and very specifically looking at targeted outreach to certain communities with various different languages. So that is an active coordination between our two offices. In terms of housing specifically, I think that is somewhat uncommon, but very much so looking at that across the breadth of our work. So making sure that things are accessible in terms of language access and support services in order to better serve those populations.
Thanks both of you for those answers. I think we got time for one more question today. Anybody have any questions? Not seeing any in the chat. We'll give it just another minute in case there's any last second thoughts that pop up. Okay, we can go ahead and wrap up for today then. Just want to thank everyone for attending, and thank you so much for the questions as well. As we mentioned earlier, these slides will be posted by the end of the day. They will have the English and the Spanish versions posted online, and within those, just a reminder that we do have active links within the presentation itself, so you'll be able to get in contact with the right people if you have any other questions that pop up. So thanks again for joining us today, and have a great day and be safe out there in the snow. Thanks everyone.